Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Katie and today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 DIYs from the Dollar Tree for the upcoming Halloween season. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and like my video so I can continue to grow my channel. These are some of the items you're going to need for the upcoming projects. If you can't find the die cut butterflies, feel free to use any of the butterflies the Dollar Tree carries. For this first project, I take the skeleton and I cut off his legs and arms, and I just position them how I would like the skeleton to sit inside of the mason jar. Then I pick whichever wings I like and I just bended them a little bit and I just put some hot glue right down the center and adhered it onto the back of the skeleton. Once that was done, I just plopped them right in to the mason jar and closed the lid. For this next project, you're going to need a whole strand of the skeletons and you're going to pick whichever wings you prefer or can find, and you're just going to go ahead and start sticking them onto the backs of the skeletons. I did reposition some of them. I didn't want them all to be hanging straight down, so I did the same thing as I did in the first video where I'm cutting off their legs and arms and just giving them different poses. Next project, I used this mirror from the Dollar Tree that I found, and 2 more skeletons. I just cut off all the twine it came with, and the little plastic piece that's on the top of their head that holds the string on. Once I picked the wings I was using, I actually found a matching one because I knew I was going to see the back of the skeleton for this. So I cut it in half, glued the 2 pieces together, and once those 2 pieces are glued together, I turned the skeleton around and I just adhered it to the side of the skeleton's vertebrae, just so that way when it's turned around on its back, you wouldn't see white paper. It just looks like the wings. I wanted to make the skeleton look like it was kind of floating or sitting on the side of the mirror, so I cut off its pelvis, put some hot glue in, and I just kind of repositioned and angled it a little differently. And I also cut the knees and repositioned those as well. And I stuck it on my glass how I wanted and just hot glued it down. With that fairy down, I picked the position I wanted for the other fairy, and I just glued it down by its hands onto the glass so it could look at itself. Once that was done, I was just able to hang up the mirror with the hook that comes on the mirror, like a picture frame hook. This next project is very similar to the first project, except these domes are a lot smaller than a mason jar, so I ended up cutting both arms and legs off the skeleton, and I put some moss down. And I needed to have him like kneeling, and I kind of wanted him to look like he was kneeling and wanting out. Once he's positioned how I want him, I put the moss down and just glued him down. Then I picked these orange wings, and I picked 2 of the same wings, just as I did with the last project. Same process, glued him down, cut the center off the butterfly. Sorry for my daughter being in the frame there. And then I just went and glued it right on to the back of the skeleton. For this next project, I took some black acrylic paint, some of the rub-on transfer letters that you can get at the Dollar Tree, and this sign, and then I painted it black. I needed about 2 coats, and I also painted the edges where the cardboard is showing where my fingers are at. Once I do the 2 coats of paint around the edges, I just take my fairies and wings of choice and I just position them in the box how I want it. Then I go ahead and glue the wings on and glue them down into their position. For the next step, I wanted to spell out dead fairies. So I took these rub-on transfer letters, cut out the letters I needed, pushed them down, and just rubbed it with my finger and peeled that layer off. You want to make sure you get it really rubbed down before you peel that clear layer off. And they worked out really well, and I'm definitely going to be using them more in future projects. Once I spelled out dead fairies, I felt it needed a little something else. So I just added some wings to it in different spots. I also think adhesive corkboard would have worked really well laying that flat, but I didn't have any on hand at the time. So that's always an option you could do as well. Before you lay down the fairies, put the adhesive cork down. Afterwards, I still felt it needed something, so I had these other rub-on transfers, and I took the flies off of them and some of the buttons, and I just placed them around the fairies in the box just to give it a little more decoration and not have so much empty space. I added the numbers 1 and 2, and then I added a few more little decorations and another fairy wing. Afterwards, it can stand up on its own, or you could add some command strips to the back and you could make a temporary wall hanging for the Halloween season. For the imprisoned fairies, you're going to need these baskets from the Dollar Tree. They're originally gold, and I spray painted them black with Rustoleum's satin canyon black. Then I took the wings, did the same thing as the other projects where I cut out the center and I adhered them to the back. You'll also need some black zip ties and some twine, or if you have any chain, if you want to hang it up. Once I adhere this one's wings, I set it aside, as that one I'm just going to have sit at the bottom of the cage, so I didn't need to cut any of the legs off. But the next one, I do end up cutting the legs off, repositioning them so I can make it look like it's flying. Once I position the legs where I want them, I go ahead and take the black cage and I put one zip tie on to act as a hinge, and then I just kind of play around where I want to place them and just, figure out how they're going to sit the best. Get the first fairy position, then I take the other one and wrap twine around its abdomen. Then I mess around and figure out how I want to get it to how I want it to float correctly. And then I went and just tied it to the wire frame and snipped the backs to clean up any loose edges. After I positioned both fairies, I went and took the remaining zip ties and just zip tied around the edges and snipped off the excess zip tie plastic. Then I take some twine and I just tie it at the top of the cage so I can hang it. But if you have fishing line or some sort of chain from a planter, that would also work really well to be able to hang this up. For the finished projects, if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and like the video. I will be releasing more content every Monday and Thursday. I'm going to be doing some farmhouse Halloween, some high-end Halloween, a mixture of different types of Halloween decor. If you have any suggestions, please leave some in the comments below. Thank you.